や最後は大関貴景勝兵庫県出身常盤山部屋
I met Takamisakari in the lift when I was with my sister, who doesn't speak Japanese. I can't even imagine where we could have been. But anyway, we're in the lift and Takamisakari got in and he was wearing his glasses. And I said to him, oh, this is my sister. And he leant over and peered at her. And she said she was terrified because she didn't know what I had said to this person and why he was looking at her so carefully. And he said to me, oh, your sister has blue eyes. And I said, yes, but we are sisters. Mine are brown. And afterwards she said, I thought you'd sold me into white slavery. He looked at me so intently. He's quite a character. My other favorite Takamisakari story, as told to me by his oyakata, was that, of course, he's a charming fellow and he was very popular and had lots of sponsors. And one of the sponsors was a beer company, and they said to him, they were out to dinner, the oyakata and the sponsors, and they said, oh, we'll send you some beer. And he said, I don't drink beer. And they said, oh, well, we'll send you some water, bottled water. And he said, no, I only drink bottled water from my hometown in Aomori. And the oyakata said he was trying to kick him under the table because, okay, he only drank the special bottled water from his hometown, but the rest of the people in the heya could have been drinking the beer and the bottled water. But he was very straightforward and almost naive.
Very matter of fact, with not much forethought.
Exactly, exactly. But a bit hard to talk to because he mumbled. Right. And I remember sitting next to him on the train once. We were going somewhere and we were talking and he kept mumbling, and it's one of those situations where you're nodding your head and saying, oh, yes, yes, yes. Yeah. And you think, I have no idea what he was saying. How many times can you say, what was that again? Yeah. He had a little bit of a lisp as well, as does Ura. Ura has a very charming lisp. When we were in St. Petersburg at the World Combat Games, he, in a brilliant victory over his competitor, won the gold medal, and I was his interpreter. And yeah, he had a very charming lisp when he was just a little lightweight chappy.
Fair enough.
He's a lot of fun. He's got a very good sense of humour, and I had a great time with him. And he let me wear his medal, and yeah, we had a few drinks, and yeah, I don't think he has his lisp after a few Russian vodkas, though.
Probably can't feel his lips. Oh, well, well, we were talking, obviously, we were just talking about Asashoryu for a while. So something else I was wanting to ask you about him, just what was he like, because you knew him personally, see outside the ring and outside of being a Yokozuna, or maybe when he got the rope, he just carried himself the same way or whatever, I don't know. What was he actually like as like a person behind closed doors when people weren't watching or having cameras on his face?
Well, he was a very jolly sort of person, good-hearted, generous. But I did sometimes get annoyed with him, that I thought he could be more clever. One time, he was left-handed, so it doesn't matter which hand you throw the salt with. You can throw left-handed or right-handed. But when you take the prize money, the kyokai wants you to do it with your right hand. But he did it with his left hand, and that was a problem. And so he said to me, look, and he'd looked up all these different things, and it was, how you make the sign, and whether it's like a cross or up and down, or whatever you do, how to do it. He said, but nowhere does it say you have to do it with your right hand. probably because they never expected anybody not to.
Yeah, he was right.
At the time, I said to him, he said, I'm going to insist. I said to him, there are bigger things to make an issue of than this, you know, like just do it. And it's
Like playing soccer.
Yes, playing soccer. Because Akebono, on the other hand, he really understood that you have to, shall we say, play the game. And a couple of times I remember him where he kind of just had to put aside his true feelings and go with what was needed to be done. One time when he was a new Yokozuna, he was in the elevator with yobidashi, older yobidashi, well-respected, who was saying to him, oh, your Dohyo, Yokozuna Dohyo is rubbish. You have to do it like this, and you have to move like this, and you shouldn't do that. And, you know, I mean, he must have been going up a long way, because it was a long diatribe about how and he was a new Yokozuna, come on. So Akebono said, oh, thank you very much. Oh, yes, I understand. Oh, yes, I'll try and do my best. Yes, yes, I understand. Yes, and very humble and very accepting of the guy. And when the doors shut, he said, if it's so easy, do it yourself. But he would not say that to the yobidashi that he needed to respect. And when we were in London, I think it was, or Canada, must have been Canada. When we were in Canada at the press conference, somebody asked him about how do you feel about being the first Hawaiian Yokozuna, the first American Yokozuna? And he said, I'm a Yokozuna. I'm not American. I'm not Hawaiian. I'm not Japanese. I'm a Yokozuna. And I thought that's clever. That's diplomatic and tactical. But Asashoryu was a little bit more hard-headed about what he thought, and he was more like the kyokai should change, whereas Akebono and Musashi Maru were more like, well, this is the way it is, and we won't butt our heads against the brick wall.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was interesting when the rivalry between Hakuho and Asashoryu started. It was like white versus, or was it the blue dragon versus the white phoenix, or peng, whatever that is. So it was as if Hakuho was goody two shoes and Asashoryu was the evil, uncouth one. As soon as Asashoryu left, everybody turned on the Hakuho, and yeah. But did you think Hakuho changed? Like he's very conscious of what people think about him. Remember we spoke to him. He had all the history of sumo that he'd studied. He's really read everything there is on the subject, and when he says he loves sumo, he really does.
Yes, he really does. Yeah, that was interesting. I think it's like the fan saying to me, "Why do you hate Takanohana?" That it's, in a way, it's easy to have the good one and the bad one, the black hat and the white hat. That if you have something that you can grab onto as this one's bad and this one's good, it makes it easier to talk about it, and also sometimes easier to watch. And I remember saying to a friend, oh, well, you know, I don't like that person. I don't like that rikishi. I don't like his style. And he said, oh, that's not fair. And I said, well, hey, you got to dislike somebody. Otherwise, you know, madly cheering for everybody and they can't all win. So it's nice to actually have one that you don't like. And I think that was a part of it. It's easy to have a bad one to talk about and write about. But Asashoryu was not popular with the press because he didn't like giving interviews. And that was because, as we all know, it doesn't always come out the way you actually said it or wrote it. In my case, I was asked to write for a newspaper in Osaka, and I wrote about Hoshi Andes and Hoshi Tango. And when it was, and I said to the editor, my Japanese is not all that good, would you please check it for me, meaning my grammar and my language. And when it was published, he had changed it to Hoshi Tango and Hoshi Andes from Brazil and refused to print an apology, or, you know, that it was. And so people were saying to me, you don't even know where they're from. I was going, that wasn't me. Or, you know, things are taken out of context. And so Asashoryu said the easiest way is not to say anything, then they can't misquote you or take it out of context. But that didn't make it easy for the sports reporters, who have to get up early and go and watch the keiko and stand around afterwards waiting to try and get some little sound bite or comment that they're going to print. So yeah, it was a bit difficult.
There's always a lot hanging around outside the hair. I remember we argued on bear, and I was laughing because they were all hanging out. There were about 15 or 20 press, and I knew that Hakuho was upstairs with a hangover.
Oh, right.
He was busy. He'd been out the night before and was busy sleeping it off. Or I suppose they've always got their room in the hair, because when they get thrown in the doghouse, I think the wife probably doesn't let them in for the night, or they know what's best for them.
That's the same with all sports, though. You know, that it's hard to have a relationship with the press, and some people can handle it better and others can't. And particularly if you are the akuyaku, the bad guy, then it's more likely that something you've said is going to be shown in a bad light. So
I absolutely. And
Asanoyama, wasn't he? Yeah, wasn't he suspended for talking to for the press, going out with them?
No, was he not suspended because he lied about it?
Yeah, but he was still sneaking out to go do naughty things with a reporter.
Did he get in trouble for being with the reporter? Was it not just being out during the COVID restrictions and things, and then lying?
Didn't he go to hostess bars with the reporter?
He did. He did go to hostess bars.
Yeah,
he did.
Yeah,
they all go to hostess bars. That's part of your job as a rikishi, not to go to hostess bars, but to go where you're taken by your sponsors.
Yeah.
And it used to be that a rikishi was expected to eat a lot, drink a lot, sing well, and you know, be entertaining. And if you were a wealthy sponsor and you took somebody out and you paid for their dinner, and you might have slipped a little envelope of taxi fare, in inverted commas, into their kimono sleeve, they were expected to eat, drink, and be merry.
Oh, well, of course, that would definitely be expected. And I don't think many of them would argue too much against that either. I don't think any of them like, oh no, I need to go out again and it'd be bought.
I think it, you know, sometimes you might, particularly during the basho, you might be thinking, I want to stay home and get a good night's sleep and not go out with Mr. So-and-so and go to, you know, 5 different bars and drink copious amounts of whiskey and what have you.
Well, that's me shut right up in my opinion then, because that's absolutely fair enough. That's completely fair and logical. Definitely.
But if you're only working 10 seconds a day, what's one more drink?
One more drink, indeed. But actually, some of them really enjoy the provincial basho, because they do get to go out more, because they're not in Tokyo, and so they're only there for a short time. So more people want to take them out. On the other hand, they, you know, depending where they're from, they get to meet their friends and have a better time in the provincial.
Well, that's what I thought was interesting when Minozaki Bear came out. They were all so polite. There was so much camaraderie between them all. But the Oyokata had the ultimate say in what they did. And I remember that we were busy with rehearsals and they were late for lunch. And the hotel was, oh, we'll whip up lunch for you. And he said, no, just give them some fruit salad or some fruit. And I don't want to spoil their appetite. And yeah, nobody was busy overeating or pigging out. They really do have a very healthy, wholesome lifestyle. A lot of people don't understand that they're not eating hot dogs and burgers and things like that. Although Ura, I don't know why. I reckon he's joking about living on McDonald's.
Well, in Tokyo, there is it still there? There was a McDonald's quite near the Kokugikan. And for people who were below the Juryo level, if they had a win, they could go to the McDonald's and they would give them 2 hamburgers for the price of 1 as a reward for winning.
Oh, a wee bit of tasty incentive.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
There used to be quite a few of the younger guys in there because in the heya, when you eat chanko, of course, it's hierarchical, and the oyakata and the special guests and the highly ranked rikishi eat first, and then it moves down the scale. So the younger ones might not get all that much. I mean, there's generally plenty to eat, but they might not get such a lot of the best kind of thing. Or by the time they get to eat, they have to go and do their sumo. They don't have time to really sit and relax and eat lots of whatever might be there. So they pop into macas on the way after the basho.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I mean,
Yeah,
it makes sense.
some of the poor little buggers, there's nothing much left in the broth. So they have to put in their 2-minute noodles.
The difference between the chanko at the various heya and even day by day is quite interesting, because often they're eating what they've been given. So in Osaka, one time I was at the Dewanumi Bear, and after keiko, they invited me and my friends to stay, and the Tokoyama said, the barber said, you're unlucky. We had snapping turtle yesterday because some sponsor had brought this, expensive snapping turtle, and they'd eaten it in the chanko. And we sat down, and they had cocktail frankfurts and konjaku noodles, and that was the chanko. And I'd have to say it wasn't the most inspiring thing. Anyway, Kushimaumi said, I'm not eating this. There's some chicken in the fridge, bring this. And, he made up some chanko. And then my Naomi was sitting elsewhere, and he said, what are you guys eating? So he came over and ate that one, because the wiener sausages and the noodles were not quite, the best thing. And some places you go, they have like Naruto Bear, the oyakata was very interested in the whole world and cooking, and he would have really gourmet dishes that he prepared, or he had the guys prepare. So you always knew you were in for a good meal when you went there, and a lot of side dishes. So it's not just the chanko, which very often the heya have their own style of dashi, the stock that they use. So this one usually uses a chicken stock, and this one favors the pork bone stock, and so on. Often, it's fish and just whatever they've been given. On one time somewhere I was Musashigawa Bear, and they'd been given something by a sponsor who brought a whole stack of seafood. So we had a chanko that was full of crab and scallops and prawns, and it was like a seafood delight. But other places, they were eating popular stamina chanko, which is tripe and liver and kidneys and when you're cooking.
Tripe is enough to make you want to cry.
Well, yes, yeah. So one of the best ones I had was they had salmon and Chinese cabbage in a cream sauce, the kind of Hokkaido style. That was delicious. But anyway, it was kind of the luck of the draw what you got in the chanko. And it's the same really for the rikishi, because if they've been given something, it's in the chanko. And if nobody gave them anything, it might be cocktail frankfurts and cognac noodles.